In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the most important trends and changes and updates taking place in the world of social media marketing and digital marketing, marketing in general. Because let me assure you, there have been a ton of changes in the world of social media this year, and the year before, and the year before that too. Actually, this stuff changes all the time. So that's what makes this video just so important, because I'm going to help you separate the stuff that you need to know from all of the things that you can safely ignore and pass on. You know, the kind of clickbait titles like the end of social media or social media is dead. Well, my friend, let me assure you, social media is definitely not dead. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And while I do have my own predictions on the future of social media marketing and digital marketing and marketing, which I've included in a video that I'll link up at the end of this one, I thought it would be more useful and interesting for me to take a look at some of what other people are saying and the trends and the changes and the predictions that they're making. So I did a little research, and as usual, the internet did not disappoint. But it did overwhelm, as the search for social media marketing trends returned over 3.8 billion responses. But seeing as anything past page 2 on Google is where good pages go to die, I figured we'd focus on page 1. And from there, I was able to take a collection of the top sites and whittle down those answers to the top 63 social media marketing trends that others thought were going to be important. But 63 is still a whole lot. So the first thing I did was compile a list of all of the different trends. And then what I did is I found the overlap and I started counting the number of times that certain terms would appear more than others. Essentially, this enabled me to go from a list of 3.8 billion responses down to 63 trends and then whittle them down even further into 15 different trends that you want to pay attention to. And I turned those into a nice little graph, a pie chart to be exact. Pie. Because everybody likes pie. And the results were interesting, to say the least. Some I agreed with, others not so much. But what's most important here isn't just necessarily identifying the trend, but rather why it's important, and more importantly, again, how you can actually use this and capitalize on it in your business. So now in rapid fire succession, here are 3.8 billion responses, whittled down to 63 trends and further broken down into 15 manageable and bite-sized chunks that you can take away and start implementing in your business today. But first, a real quick message and big thank you to this video's sponsor, Poster My Wall. Poster My Wall is a one-stop solution that helps small business owners with content creation and distribution. They're all about simplifying design and allowing anybody to create stunning graphics and videos without any artistic ability. Social media images can be downloaded for free, and the resize feature allows you to quickly resize your designs so you can maintain an active presence across a ton of different social media platforms without having to create content for each platform specifically. There are also auto-publishing and scheduling tools that let you post directly to different social media platforms without ever leaving the interface. This means you can manage your accounts across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can customize titles, captions, and hashtags all inside the Poster My Wall interface. So make sure to check them out right after this video by clicking the link in the description box below. Alright, let's start at the bottom and work our way up to the top, starting with social media marketing trend number 15, meme marketing. Meme marketing has been relatively popular for quite some time, but we're continuing to see it for one simple reason, because it works. You see, it's important to understand basic user psychology when they're visiting different social media platforms. I mean, why are most people there? For most people, it's to engage and to connect and to be entertained, and memes kind of do all of these things together. But if you're not familiar with common and more popular memes, maybe some of these will jog your memory. There's Success Kid and Facepalm, there's Disaster Girl and Distracted Boyfriend. That escalated quickly, Shut Up and Take My Money, Be Like Bill, Velociraptor, and the classic Nokia. There are also a ton of meme generation websites out there that you can use to quickly create different kinds of content and memes, and there are probably already some that are directly relevant to your market and to your industry. Long story short, memes. They're funny. People like them. So if you can use them, might as well give it a shot. All right, social media marketing trend number 14 is all about the creator economy. The creator economy is an important trend to be aware of because it's essentially what's driving much of the content that you're seeing, as well as much of the audience for the content that you're seeing. Yeah, that makes sense. Basically, content creators, also known as content entrepreneurs, are one of the fastest growing small business segments, and they're not the people that you might typically expect. For example, The Tilt published a study on the creator economy, and they found 40% are Gen X, while 32% are millennials, with baby boomers taking up 23% and Gen Z only 5%. There's also a pretty decent mix between those who are doing it full-time and those who are doing it part-time. So what this really means is that they're influencing the way that content is created and the way that content is consumed. No longer just from big businesses with massive budgets, a lot of the content that you're seeing is more kind of grassroots, guerrilla style. Social media marketing trend number 13 is all about social audio, and this one I'm kind of half in agreement with, but it depends on the context. You see, if we're talking about social audio being through a podcast or some form of long-form audio content, then yeah, I'm all for it. I think that's fantastic. It's clearly growing and it's a great place to invest your time, money, and energy. Short-form audio, on the other hand, it never really seemed to catch on, at least not yet. It's just not the way that people typically engage with content. So if it's just short audio clips or things like that, I think there's a lot to be desired there. All right, trend number 12 is all about using Instagram and Twitter for B2B marketing, or business-to-business marketing, essentially those whose customers aren't necessarily the general public, but rather other businesses. Now this trend's interesting because the powerhouse in the B2B world has pretty much forever been LinkedIn. But there are certain limitations with LinkedIn that start to become a little more apparent when compared to Instagram and Twitter. One of those limitations is kind of the brand and the reputation and the history and the tone of LinkedIn being a more formal B2B platform. And other limitations tend to stem from that perception, meaning that you're able to sort of get in front of your ideal target market a lot easier on Instagram and more specifically on Twitter, again, depending on what market or industry you're in. Many of my students are already successfully using Instagram to do B2B style marketing by simply creating good and relevant content and using that as a form of microblog. But Twitter is a bit of a sleeping giant, especially because it's going to give you access to some of the biggest and brightest and best names in your industry and in your market and allow you to make connections like nowhere else. For example, while I don't use Twitter as much as I probably should, because I do enjoy the platform, it's probably one of the best ways to get a hold of me, next to, of course, leaving a comment in the YouTube comments below. This is because my Instagram DMs are typically pretty messy and pretty full, so I rarely get in there. Same thing goes with Facebook. But Twitter, it's quite easy to mention somebody and then you pop up in their notifications. All right, social media marketing trend number 11 is all about augmented reality. And this one I can't help but to agree with and to actually be kind of excited about. Now, for a long time, augmented reality and its bigger brother, virtual reality, have kind of been out of bounds and certainly out of reach for many creators and small business owners. The technology has simply been too complicated and too expensive, but things are changing. Augmented reality is starting to become more evident all around us. I mean, certain apps are already incorporating this when you can sort of put a funny face on yourself or add an interesting background, or other things to sort of jazz up your content. The key with augmented reality is to use it not even sparingly, but congruently with your brand and with the tone and the message you're trying to deliver. Either way, it's cool stuff and it's here to stay. Trend number 10 is all about a focus on new audience growth and development. It seems that a lot of people are putting more effort and more time and more energy into developing and to creating new audiences that they previously haven't reached. Feels weird for me to be able to call this a trend because it's kind of marketing basics, marketing 101, the proven principle of going out there and getting in front of people who are your ideal target market. But if we're going to call it a trend and it gets more people to do it, then hey, I'm for it. All right, social media marketing trend number 9 is a really positive one, and it's all about accountability and diversity. Essentially making sure that the message that you're putting out there is in alignment with your brand and with your vision and with your mission, as well as kind of being more socially responsible to other people and to the world at large. These are good things, and something that social media has been sorely lacking over the last, since its existence, really. In fact, one thing that I would love to see in the future of social media is people starting to act like people. See, it's strange to me how some people allow social media to sort of give them an excuse to develop this sense of entitlement and false courage to say things that they would never say face-to-face or in person to another human being. It would be nice if we could inject just a little more humanity and civility and essentially respect for each other and have that carry over to social media. Am I dreaming? Maybe. It's a step in the right direction. All right, social media marketing trend number 8 is all about long-form content, and this is one I could 100% get behind with absolute conviction. I've talked about this many times before, but the reality is if you've got the option for somebody to consume, say, 15 seconds of your content or 15 minutes of your content, well, it's no secret which one is going to give you more authority and more credibility and more expertise and trust and all of the things that we're trying to build up by creating content online. Short-form content still has a place, and I'll cover that in just a minute, but the resurgence of long-form content is a very positive trend in the right direction. In fact, many of the short-form content players in the space are increasing the length of their short-form content, making it longer, shorter content. Shorter, longer content? Medium content, longer content? Just content? Trend number 7 is all about influencer marketing. Still an amazing opportunity to be talking about this and incorporating an influencer strategy in your business. Regardless of what business, market, or industry you're in, there are influencers out there, and some of them may be approachable for more reasonable rates than when compared to other forms of traditional marketing. The key with influencer marketing is making sure that there's good alignment and congruence with your brand and with your message, as well as with the audience of the influencer. I like to think of influencer marketing at this stage kind of like online advertising was back around 10 years ago, before people truly knew just how powerful it was, which means that deals can still be had and relationships can still be established with relevant people in your industry. But that's not going to last forever, so the time to build those relationships, it's probably now. All right, trend number 6 is one of those things that just came up again and again and again, and it was all about short-form vertical video content. Essentially, think of Instagram stories and Instagram reels and TikToks and YouTube shorts and basically anything that involves holding your phone in that vertical fashion, hitting record and making something. Making something short, that is. But short is kind of a subjective term, like I've already covered, whether that's 15 seconds or 30 seconds or 60 seconds or maybe even 2 to 3 minutes. Now, I would never suggest swapping out long-form content for short-form content, but if you've already got a pretty decent grasp and handle on creating long-form content, whether it's through video or podcasts or long articles or anything like that, well, short-form content is still very desirable to the target market, and the algorithms seem to be liking it too. All right, no surprise for trend number 5, it is, of course, video marketing, which, it's funny, long-form video, short-form video, well, as long as it's built on solid video principles, it's just a strategy that cannot be beat. In fact, it feels kind of weird today to be talking about video and just how important it is, like we don't already know that. But what we know and what we do are often two different stories, so let this be that wake-up call or that reminder that video is still very much important, not only to the market that you're trying to serve, but also to the platforms and the algorithms that they live and die by. Basically, people want more video, so make it core to your marketing strategy, and your business will grow. That's a bold promise, I appreciate that, but the reality is, if you're not making videos right now and you start, well, the results are only going to be positive. And if you are making videos right now, then hey, virtual high five. But I would argue that you can still probably make more, or maybe even make them better. Again, the results are only going to be positive for you and for your business. All right, social media marketing trend number 4 came up so many times that I just had to include it as a trend all to its own, and that is, of course, TikTok. See, TikTok's interesting because not only is it video marketing, well, it's also short-form marketing, but I couldn't put it in any one of those categories because it got so many votes all to itself. And this shouldn't be any surprise. I mean, anybody who's been involved in marketing for any length of time has seen this massive upswing in TikTok's popularity. First off, like pretty much every single social media network that has ever existed, it started with a young demographic, but then quickly aged up, starting to be adopted by millennials and then Gen X and even baby boomers. Point is, if you have the ability to create those short vertical videos, which we've already established are a pretty important trend, well, then there's no reason to not be putting those on TikTok as well. The one caveat that I am going to say, however, is that if you're going to be creating video content anyway, you might as well favor more long-form kinds of content, like you would put on YouTube, and then maybe create a spin-off strategy for TikTok. After all, again, given the choice between a 15-minute video or a 15-second or even a 2 or 3-minute video, well, the 15-minute video is pretty much always going to provide more value and therefore create more trust and more authority with your market. Social media marketing trend number 3 is none other than social commerce, essentially being able to make purchases and do your shopping right inside different social media marketing apps. I'm not just talking about Facebook Marketplace either, which is more of a marketplace than an in-app shopping experience. No, I'm talking about the ability to actually make purchases and collect payments and do all of that shopping stuff without having someone ever leave the platform, which is clearly good for the apps, which therefore will be clearly good for you. After all, the apps want you to use their stuff. But it also eliminates a few points of friction for the customer, therefore making it more likely for them to see their purchase all the way through. Now, clearly, this is more of an e-commerce based strategy than for someone selling services, but regardless, there are going to be ways to incorporate selling different things right in app, and this is going to be a trend we're going to see continue for quite some time. All right, social media marketing trend number 2 was one that I was relatively surprised about. Not that it was there, but rather seeing so many people talk about it and see so many people talk about it so much and in so much detail about just how great this was. And I am, of course, talking about better social media advertising. Again, if you've been in marketing for any length of time, and specifically if you've been on the Facebook platform and have run any kind of Facebook ads, then you were undoubtedly affected by the updates to iOS 14. Essentially, Apple coming out and doing away with some of the cookies and some of the pixels and some of the tracking. And by some of the tracking, I mean all of the tracking. All right, just most of the tracking. Whoa, all right, just most of the tracking. The point is if you were running Facebook ads, you probably saw your conversions down and your costs up, which are never good for return on investment. Now, typically in the past, when this kind of thing happens, we see people migrate to different platforms, possibly to YouTube ads or Google ads. But these cookie issues and these tracking and privacy issues, they're not just unique to Facebook. In fact, they're carrying over to YouTube and to Google and to pretty much every single other ad platform out there. So you do need to be strategic about what you're doing and make sure to bake this into your overall strategy if you want to be doing this long term. Anyway, the social media platforms, well, they know this, and they're trying to work with you to make it better and make it more profitable and more productive, and most importantly, make the overall advertising experience better for their end user, which is their ultimate goal. That's right, whether we're talking about Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or YouTube or whoever, their advertising goal is not necessarily to help you get the best results as an advertiser, but rather to help ensure that the end experience for the user is the best that it possibly can be. After all, if the users of the platform don't like being there, they're not going to be there, and therefore they won't have anyone to advertise to, therefore they won't make money. Long story short, advertising is again getting better. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So if you've completely sworn off online ads, it may be a good time to at least take a look back at them and see if you can incorporate them into your overall strategy. And that leads me to social media marketing trend number 1, which is a focus on overall marketing strategy. You see, one of the common themes that came up across all of the different sites and all of the conversations I had with friends and colleagues in the industry is this refocusing on what's truly important to social media marketing, and that is strategy, at least for those who know what they're doing. And that is what separates the amateurs from the pros, the people who just go out there and chase shiny objects and follow whatever the latest and greatest social media hack is, from those that are actually using social media to grow their brand and to grow their influence and to grow their revenue. You see, social media isn't a magical tool, it's just a tool. Good tool, but it's still just a tool. And this means the most important lesson to getting good results from your social media marketing means choosing the right tool for the job and then knowing how to use that tool appropriately. And this, my friend, all comes down to strategy. So in order to help you craft a truly effective digital marketing strategy for your business, the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video that I've got linked up right here on digital marketing. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, the next thing that'll really help you become a better digital marketer is to understand the differences between strategy and tactics and when to use them. Strategy is all the big picture stuff.